أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد الله وعلى بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا أما بعد فقد قال أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب عليه الصلاة والسلام في خطبته المعروفة بالشقشقية. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam in this khutbah, which is known as khutbah shaqshaqiyya, Imam begins and in this khutbah talks about three specific things. تشمل على الشكوى من أمر الخلافة. Imam complains against the matter of khilafat, those who proceeded before him taking the reins of khilafat in their hands. Number two, ثم ترجيح صبره. Imam giving preference to his patience and sabr in this 25 years of khilafat. And then lastly, ثم مبايعة الناس له. And then the third segment of it, which we won't get to today, is that Imam talks about how people came for his bay'at after the first 25 years, initial years. This sermon is known as the Sermon of Ash-Shaqshaqiyya and is counted amongst the most famous sermons of Imam. It was delivered at a place called Rabah, or Rahba rather. And although many people have denied associating this khutbah to Imam Ali, they're saying this cannot be the word of Ali. Imam Ali was so close to the Khulafa, he was so friendly with them, he had such a good relationship with them. How can he go ahead and criticize them this openly? So many people have, especially Ahl Sunnah, many of them, the commentary, those who have done, they have denied associating this khutbah with Imam Ali, and instead they say, well, this is a khutbah concocted by Syed Rizvi himself. He himself created this khutbah just to show the rift between the Shias and the Sunnis. So they attributed it to Syed Rizvi and laid blame on the integrity of his knowledge. Yet those who are the truth-loving scholars, they have denied its veracity, nor can there be any ground for its denial, because Imam Ali's difference in the view of Khilafat was very apparent. Imam did not keep it secret. He made it known on numerous occasions, and all those occasions are documented in the books of history. When it came to the first Khilafat, how he declined to pay allegiance to, and we all know the story, how he was dragged out of his house. Then it came to the matter of second Khilafat, how there was no say in it because the first Khalifa had already chosen the second one. And then when it came to the third Khilafat, how there was a Shura. Imam alludes and talks about the Shura as well in this sermon of his. So there's no way of pointing fingers and saying that this is something which is made up and cannot be the words of Imam Ali. There are many discussions in this regard, and then this book actually goes about talking and giving references to all those who claim the authority and the authenticity of this khutbah, and removing the blame from Syed Rizvi, and those who were trying to blame Syed Rizvi. Among these scholars, some are those who were before Syed Rizvi's period, some are his contemporaries, and some are those who came after him, but they all related it through their own chain of authority, saying this khutbah is from Imam Ali. Syed Rizvi has nothing to do with it. Imam Ali himself narrated this khutbah. Amongst them is who? Amongst them is this famous commentator of Nahj al-Balaghah, Ibn Abil Hadid Mu'tazili, who has the longest and the largest and the biggest of sharh commentary, and to my knowledge of Nahj al-Balaghah. He narrates this khutbah and he talks about that the style in there is similar to the style of other khutbahs, and there cannot be any discrepancy, or there cannot be any doubt rather that this is not Imam Ali's. He said, I have already seen it in books written 200 years before the birth of Sayyid Rizvi, and I've seen it in familiar writings about which I know that scholars or men of letters, they have compiled at that time. Not only Sayyid Rizvi, but even his father, Abu Ahmad al-Naqib, had not been born. So that means Ibn Abil Hadith says that I've seen in books that are predate Sayyid Rizvi. So how you go ahead and tell that Sayyid Rizvi is someone who brought about this book? Ibn Maytham Bahrani, he also writes in his commentary that he had seen one such copy of this sermon which bore the writing of al-Muqtadir Billah's minister Abul Hasan Ali ibn Abul Furat, and he said, this is of course predates Sayyid Rizvi. Allah Muhammad Baqir Majlisi also narrates this, and other scholars of such caliber have talked about the authenticity of this khutbah. Let's move forward, let's read. We can care less about those who have created doubts. I just wanted to get it out of the way because this is one khutbah which is a matter of a lot of contention, primarily because it criticizes the khilafat of the first three caliphs, and you'll see it by the words of Imam. He says, Ama wallahi laqad taqassamaha fulanun. Now, of course, Imam is being careful in his words, and Imam does not, go ahead and directly name. He says, fulanun. What did he say? Beware by Allah, indeed, so-and-so dressed himself with the caliphate. And who is that so-and-so? Of course, the first Khalifa, Abu Quhafa, son of Abu Quhafa, Abu Bakr. He said, وَأَنَّهُ لَيَعْلَمُ أَنَّ مَحَلِّي مِنْهَا مَحَلُّ الْقُطُبِ مِنَ الرَّحَى. This is, again, Imam is giving analogy, that he knows, certainly he knew that my status in relationship to it, this khilafat, was same as the status of the axis in relationship to the handmill. Now, if you know a handmill and you know the axis in between it, the relationship is that they're lazim and malzoom. One cannot go without it. He says, my role with khilafat is just like that. Khilafat cannot go without me, just like the axis and the handmill. He knew about it. أَنَّهُ لَيَعْلَمُ what my status is. Still, he went, يَنْحَدِرُ عَنِّي السَّيْلِ the flood water flows down from me. He's again referring to the same handmill. وَلَا يَرْقَى إِلَيَّ الطَّيْرِ and the bird cannot fly up to me. So again, giving the reference to handmill. These are all analogies. Imam is speaking in metaphorically all over here. These are all giving examples and such eloquence that Imam uses over here, and that is the reason Sayyid Rizvi chooses this khutbah in his compilation. Then Imam continues, فَسَدَلْتُ دُونَهَا ثَوْبًا. So what did I do? I put curtain against the caliphate. I put a curtain against the caliphate. That's what they wanted me to do, therefore that's what I did. وَطَوَيْتُ عَنْهَا كَشْهًا that and kept myself detached from it. Of course, they tried to involve me. Imam, of course, showed his support whenever Islam needed the support. Some people translated Imam's support to the Khalifas. No. Imam's support was primarily to the religion of Islam, the betterment of Islam. All of his supporting arguments or all of his advices to the first and the second caliph specifically were what? Were there to guide the ship in the right direction, keep them from making mistakes, because they're not infallible. They're going to make mistakes. So Imam provided his insight, and they valued Imam's insight. Although initially they wanted to Jabran get his allegiance, which of course Imam denied So what did he say? He said, طَوَيْتُ عَنْهَا كَشْحًا, and kept myself detached from it. Detached to the extent that I didn't take any part in becoming, their deputy for this land or that land. Because of course, when a Khalifa comes into power, he's going to go ahead and start having, you go this place, you go that place. Just like Imam Ali, when he had Khilafat Zahiri, he had many governors all around. He said, I detached myself. I didn't want any role as far as being part of this Khilafat is concerned. وَتَفِقْتُ أَرْتَئِلْ بَيْنَ أَنْ أَسُولَ بِيَدِ جَزَّاء. Or, then of course Imam in the beginning he said, وَتَوَيْتُ عَنْهَا كَشْحًا وَتَفَقْتُ. Then I began to think whether I should assault. Whether should I go after and take what is my right? Should I go and raise my sword, which I could have easily done so? Should I go after that which is my right declared by Rasulullah? Should I do that? Then Imam says, or endure calmly the blinding darkness of tribulation. Kya karoon? I have two choices over here. Should I go forward and take what is mine? Or should I just remain silent, calmly, do sabr, and not move forward with this? Why? People can easily interpret that Ali was after Khilafat. People will easily interpret that. So then when he said, أَوْ أَصْبِرَا عَلَى تَخْيَةِ عَمْيَا, or should I do sabr in the face of this tribulation that awaits? يَهْرَمُ فِيهَا الْكَبِيرُ وَيَشِيبُ فِيهَا الصَّغِيرُ, wherein the grown-up are feeble and the young grow old, and the true believer acts under strain till he meets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the old cannot do much over here. They're feeble in this regard. They're not going to come and side with me. Young ones, of course, you can't rely on them at the moment. And then, of course, the true believer, wants to keep himself aloof over here, that rather he jumps into this sort of a civil war situation. So, what did Imam do? The second portion of the khutbah, tarjihus sabr. Imam gave preference to sabr and patience. Just learn. I know there's an entire, dars akhlaq over here. But this is not the, discussion of dars akhlaq. But professors and teachers in Hausa, and they choose this segment to give their dars akhlaq. How Imam chose this sabr, and how quickly we run out of sabr. How quickly we lose patience and we lose our cool in front of the smallest of the trials that come in front of us. The smallest of the tribulation that come in front of us, we become feisty and we lose our cool and we don't show any strain, we don't show any sabr and patience. But Imam, facing all that, not for 2 years, not for 5 months, not for 2 weeks. It was like, do hafte ki baat hai, then it'll all be over. 6 months later, it'll all be gone. Couple of years, it'll be done. 25 years. For some people, that's 1/3 of their lifespan, right? Get to live 75, 25 is 1/3 of your entire lifespan. In case of Imam, he only got to live 60 some years. So that was just a little bit less than half of his lifespan, 25 years. And that too, when he has already spent half of his lifespan. He's already 33 years old at that moment. And then at the age of 33, when he's ready for this leadership role, he waits for it for 25 years. Now, of course, this was Khilafat al-Zahiri. He was Imam of the Ummah from the very beginning. So what does he do? Tarjih sabr. Pankha chala dijiyega zara. Turn on the fan. Fan? All right. Because the screen goes dark if the thing goes in. فَرَأَيْتُ أَنَّ الصَّبْرَ عَلَى هَاتَ أَحْجَى. I found that endurance thereon was wiser. If I do sabr, it's preferable. It's wise at this point. For many reasons. Not primarily for my personal reasons. but for the reasons which Imam further explains, that Islam would have been damaged had I not shown endurance and sabr. فَصَبَرْتُ وَفِي الْعَيْنِ قَضَى. But Imam, while he's mentioning that he's doing sabr, he said, how am I swallowing this tough pill? He mentions that. So I adopted patience, although it was like what? There was pricking in the eye. I'm doing sabr, but yet I feel this pricking in my eyes. What else? وَفِي الْحَلْقِ shajan. I also feel suffocation in my throat. I'm doing sabr. Don't think that I'm very satisfied with all of this. No, my eyes are hurting. My throat is suffocating. But yet I'm still displaying this sabr. Ara turathi nahban. What do I see? I watched the plundering of my inheritance. This is my virasat. This is something which I received in inheritance. I see my virasat is being plundered in front of my eyes. Hatta madal awwal lisabilahi. Until the first one went his way. Who's the first one? The first Khalifa. Imam is referring to the first Khalifa. Again, he's using these words not to name them. So in khutbah, Imam doesn't name them at all. But he literally directly points. فَأَدْلَى بِهَا إِلَى فُلَانٍ بَعْدَهُ. But what did he do when he left? He handed over the caliphate to Fulan after himself. And we know that who Fulan that is? That is Umar ibn al-Khattab. So I'll go through this quickly. ثُمَّ تَمَثَّلَ بِقَوْلِ الْعَاشَةِ. Then Imam alayhi salatu wasalam gave an example or quoted this famous poet, Aisha, who has said the Shattanima. I'll read it off my, it's very difficult to see over there. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Shattanama yawmi ala kureha wa yawmu hayyana akhi jabire. He said, then he quoted the verse by Ashas, my days are now past on the camel's back in difficulty. Imam is saying, days are already gone. While there were days of ease when I enjoyed the company of Jabir's brother Hayyan. The Imam quotes this, that this is now too late. But nonetheless, فَيَا عَجَبَ بَيْنَهُ وَيَسْتَقِيلُهَا في حياته إذ أقدها لآخر بعد وفاته. He said it is strange that during his lifetime he wished to be released from the caliphate, but he confirmed it for the other one after his death. So he's referring to the second Khalifa, who numerous occasions said, I don't want this Khilafat. I don't want to be part of this Khilafat. I have nothing to do with this Khilafat. He displayed that it's not something which I was after. This is not something which I dreamed of. But how strange it is. Imam used the word faya ajaba. The man is saying, I don't want this khilafat. Yet, what does he do? He's so worried about it that he confirmed the other after his death. Who's that other? Of course, that other is the third Khalifa, Uthman ibn Affan. He said, لَشَدِّ مَا تَشَطَّرَا ضَرْعَيْهَا. لَشَدِّ مَا تَشَطَّرَا ضَرْعَيْهَا. By this time, what has happened? No doubt, these two shared its udders strictly among themselves. Going back and forth. فَزَيْرَهَا فِي حَوْزَةِ خَشْنَا. These are difficult words. The translator, we give him props for finding proper meanings for these words. This one, the third one, put the caliphate in the tough enclosure. As if the first two hadn't done the damage to it, third one did even further damage. What did he do? We all know what he did. That nepotism that came into play. That favoritism that came into play. That he started right after he became in power. He's from what clan? Banu Umayyah. Because he's from the clan of Banu Umayyah, Abu Sufyan tells him what? Now the ball is in your court. This ball, the soccer ball or football if you want, is in your court. Pass it around. Pass it between your own teammates. Don't let the other team get the ball now. You give it to him, you give it to him, you give it to your cousin, you give it to your cousin, you give it to your cousin, and keep it amongst yourself. Don't give it to the other party. And that's what he started doing. Installs Marwan, installs Muawiyah, installs other family members into different parts of the world, or the Muslim world rather. يَغْلُزُ كَلْمُهَا وَيَخْشُنُ مَسُّهَا. We're coming to the end. Where the utterance was, conceited or haughty, and the touch was rough. What happened in this time? يَكْثُرُ الْإِثَارُ فِيهَا وَالْإِعْتِذَارُ مِنْهَا. Mistakes were in plenty. बहुत गलतियां की गई इस ज़माने में. There were many mistakes that were made, and also the excuses. Therefore, فَصَاحِبُهَا كَرَاكِبِ الصَّعْبَةِ إِنْ أَشْنَقَا لَهَا خَرَمًا وَإِنْ أَصْلَحَا لَهَا تَقَحَّمًا. He said one in contact with it was like the rider of an unruly camel. When you come up, you and I do not have much experience with camels, but if you have seen a camel which is unruly, I'm sure you've seen videos coming out of, at the time of Eid al-Adha, when they're trying to sacrifice a camel, and if it becomes unruly, what happens? Or even cows for that matter, they're running around and going crazy. So when an animal like that is unruly, it's chaos. Imam is saying the same thing, that the one who comes in contact with this hukumat that is going around, realizes that it's kind of like the rider of an unruly camel. Camel jo hai wo apne control mein nahi hai, or rider, what can the rider do? You can do very little when the camel is not in your control. You got to have the camel in your control in order for you to have a smooth ride. This thing is out of control. And Imam gives an example of an unruly camel. If he pulled up its reins, the very nostril would be slit. Again, keeping the examples in line with the people of that time. What would you do if you pulled it too hard? You'll pull its nostrils and you'll damage the camel. But if you let it loose, he would be thrown. Camel will throw him away if he lets it loose. So it's like catch-22, right? If you read that, catch-22. You're stuck. Whether you do this or you do that, in both ways, you're going to have trouble. So what happens? فَمُنِيَ النَّاسُ لَعُمْرُ اللَّهِ بِخَبْتٍ وَشِمَاسٍ وَتَلَوُّنٍ وَإِعْتِرَاضٍ. Consequently, by Allah, people got involved in recklessness, wickedness, unsteadiness, and deviation. Inshallah, we'll bring it to close. Imam said, فَصَبَرْتُ عَلَى طُولِ الْمُدَّةِ وَشِدَّةِ الْمِحْنَةِ. Nevertheless, I remained patient despite a length of period and stiffness of trial. Again, Imam is talking about all three phases of this khilafat that went past. حَتَّى إِذَا مَضَى لِسَبِيلِهِ جَعَلَهَا فِي جَمَاعَةٍ زَعَمَ أَنِّي أَحَدُهُمْ. Until when he went away of debt, he put the matter of khilafat in a group. And this is talking about, of course, Umar. When he left, what did he do? He created this shura in a group, regarded me to be one of them. He said, oh Ali, you be part of them. The 6 people that are gathered in that gathering. So I'll explain what happens in that gathering. I'm sure many of you have heard it before, but فَيَاللَّهِ لِلشُّورَى مَتَا أَعْتَرِضَ الرَّيْبُ فِيَّ مَعَ الْأَوَّلِ مِنْهُمْ حَتَّى صِرْتُ أَقْرَنُ إِلَى هَذِهِ النَّظَائِرِ. He said, Imam ﷺ, he said, but good heavens, what had I to do with the consultation, with the shura? Where was any doubt about me with regard to the first of them, that I now was considered akin to these ones? I had nothing to do with the first one. Why would I be going around with the second and the third? But I remained low when they were low, and flew high when they flew high as well. So Imam said, I'm going about as far as the flight is concerned. And then the last page, he said, فَصَغَى رَجُلٌ مِّنْهُمْ لِزِغْنِهِ. One of them turned against me because of his hatred. Here, Imam is using these pronouns as well. فَصَغَى رَجُلٌ مِّنْهُمْ لِزِغْنِهِ. That this, amongst these 6 people, one of them turned against me because of his jealousy and the hatred and the grudge that he had against me. Some mention that this was Sa'd ibn Waqas, or some mention that this was also Talha. It could be either Talha or it could be Sa'd ibn Waqas. وَمَالَ الْآخَرُ لِسَهْرِهِ مَآهًا وَهًا. And the other one got inclined to the other one due to his in-law relationship. This is Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. Why? Because he's married to the sister of Uthman. So he said, of course he's going to side with him. Who else is he going to go? We have a saying in Urdu as well. Who are you going to side with? You're going to side with your brother-in-law right there. So he says, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf sided with Uthman as well because he was married to his sister. إِلَىٰ أَنْ قَامَ ثَالِثُ الْقَوْمِ نَافِجًا خِزْنَيْهِ بَيْنَ النَّثِيلِهِ وَمُعْتَلَفِهِ وَقَامَ مَعَهُ بَنُو أُمَيَّةَ يَخْدَمُونَ مَالَ اللَّهِ خَدْمَ الْإِبْلِ نِبْتَةَ الرَّبِيعِ إِلَىٰ أَنْ تَكْثَى عَلَيْهِ فَتَلَّهُ. And then Imam finishes by saying, وَأَجْهَزَ عَلَيْهِ عَمَلُهُ وَكَبَتُ بِهِ بِطْنَتُهُ. So Imam just goes ahead and explains that until this third one is chosen, of course with this shura where it was presented, even though 2 of them had grudge against me, one was siding with his brother-in-law, still Imam was tied. Imam got enough votes to be the Khalifa, third Khalifa. Just imagine 6 people. 2 are having grudge against Imam. One is showing, of course, loyalty to his brother-in-law. Still Imam gets enough votes to be a contender. But where did it all break down? When Imam was asked that you have to follow the Quran, the Sunnat, and the Sirat of Shaykhain. Imam said, well, Quran and Sunnat, yes. Sirat of Shaykhain is a no. That is something which is not going to happen. So, of course, when Imam declined on that, what happens? Imam then explains. He says, till the third man of these people stood up, with having the chest between his dung and the fodder. With him, his children of the grandfather Umayyah also stood up, swallowing up Allah's wealth like a camel devouring the foliage of spring, till his rope broke down, his actions finished him, and his gluttony brought him down prostrate. So this is where Imam ﷺ speaks about the Amr of Khilafat, and also Imam ﷺ speaks about how he displayed his immense patience in front of all that unfolded. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to ponder more on the words of Amirul Mu'mineen and learn from the patience that Imam displayed in such difficult times, that we're also able to display similar patience. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.